Welcome to the Love Government. I'm Dennis Leary. We're doing a series of talks called Sex Lover, and we're now on the 9th episode. We're talking about a development from the love culture to what we have today, which is an insane, unsustainable, evil system, all covered up with a sweet surface. And we need to restore the love culture for our own personal salvation and for the salvation of our species by uncovering the real story, uncovering the reality. I've been talking about religion, since I'm familiar with it. And religion, the original religion just means tie back into a source. Re, go back. Religere means to tie it up, to tie back into a source. So our source is love, or the lover. Patriarchal source is power, money, bloodlust, and so on and so forth. They're different systems, and they are at odds with each other. We can see this in the religious system, the stories they tell. The patriarchal religions are all about the male God, or the male Savior, who saves the people. Jesus saves us, forgetting to say that we had no problem until men entered the scene and created a situation where they could falsely be a savior for a problem they created. That's just a gimmick, that's a game that goes on. Instead of the lover being at the center of the system and the culture, now it becomes some male god or goddess. Language has a hook on it. It's an energetic hook. The words we use hook us, get down into our unconscious. And the word goddess does that. Goddess means a little god, a diminutive god. Although that's not the intention. The feminists, many of the feminists speak of the goddess with great reverence, and we know what they mean. They don't mean patriarchal. But the language itself will hook them underneath. Every time they use the word goddess, they are feeding patriarchy. Because God has the word goddess, has the word God in it. And that vibration of God will hook in underneath, despite the intention. Hell, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. But it's the mechanics of something underneath that we need to get to. And language is one of them. That's why we're telling a different story here, using different language, different context. The god and goddess system comes out of the pagan times. This was a very authoritarian empire, big armies on the march, big civilizations being built up and destroyed. So much suffering, you can't imagine it, and cruelty that came with that. And all covered over, remember these societies were religious, all covered over with this religion, which justifies sacrifice. The pagan religions had sacrifices of animals. They spilt their blood, they sacrificed them, they burnt them, and then the priests, of course, got the best cuts and charged the prices. And it's the same patriarchal scheme. And it's going on today, because we don't understand the root causes of it. Animal sacrifice goes right back to the first killing of animals. Now it's justified in religious terms that God and goddesses need animals to be killed so they can get their power. Same power arrangement. Men get their power from killing. It's a power killing thing, not a loving lover thing anymore. So religions are built on violence towards women. The male religions are built on violence towards women. They attack the woman culture and way of doing things, especially their sexual rights. In the Bible, it says God tells his warriors, go into that land, I'm giving it to you. Right now there's peaceful people living there, relatively peaceful, called Canaanites and Midianites. But God is telling his chosen people, you go in there and you kill them all. Kill the women first, then the men, the children, the animals, and especially get those shrines. Because they're doing nasty things in those shrines, sexual things. And I don't approve of it. And I can see it because I'm God. I see everything. And I see what they're doing in those shrines. They're carrying on perverse, very bad things. Bad for the children. Bad for the society. They're actually doing such and such. Go in and kill them all. And they did. That's the patriarchal message. And it still is. But now it has to be glossed over because we've made some strides, some developments. So you can't get away with the same thing. But underneath, the same program is operating. Through language, through tricks of the trade. And you can trace it by their religions. And then looking at the water, right, of the love culture, the ejaculatory fluids, the male fluids, these get co-opted and rewritten. Then you have things like Christian baptism. No longer a woman's sexual fluids, but you're baptized into a male culture. You receive a male God, Jesus or some other God. In the love culture, I translate that word Jesus to she's us. She's us with an apostrophe in there. S-H-E apostrophe S-U-S or something like that. She's us. To get at the idea, first of all, that Jesus was a feminine type of person. He had women around him, and even this didn't get written out. He loved children and women. He may have even been married, in a way, to Mary Magdalene. He was a woman lover, and he was killed for that. Because he attacked the very root of the empire, which is to favor women over men. That is an unforgivable sin in God's eyes, in a male's eyes. So they had the gospel writers rewrote the Jesus story to make him friendly to the Roman Empire. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's. So he becomes a Roman, and that would have been impossible. Anybody like Jesus could not be a Roman lover, or he'd be killed by his own people. Because they hated the Romans. The Zealots hated the Romans. Then you get the blood. What about the blood? Then you get that translated, instead of revering the menstrual blood and acknowledging it as menstrual blood, the story gets rewritten. So Jesus is on the cross. God, his loving Father, sacrifices him. Then no longer is God satisfied with sacrificing animals, as all the other gods and goddesses are not satisfied. They got to have lots of animals killed to keep the priesthood going. And then, in some cases, like we know in South America, some places, human sacrifices happen. Humans were sacrificed to the gods. These gods have an unsatiable appetite for blood. Today, the same thing is going on in a much bigger way, but it's covered up now. People are being killed and sacrificed all over the planet through the money system, mainly through the money system, while religions look the other way, for the most part. This church and the state are in cahoots. The church doesn't have to pay taxes, and in exchange for that, they don't really criticize the state. They can't, not the fundamental things, because they're both patriarchal things. They're two sides of the same coin. and it's a very evil system. We call Jesus she's us because it's a like the lover, it's a symbol of all of us, but it's largely a patriarchal symbol because he's a man. But shining through the cracks is the love culture still, in the fact that he was very feminine in some of his actions towards women, and this is what gets him killed. The name Jesus comes from the Greek word Iesus. It's just a made-up name, probably based on other people like him, but was there a person like Jesus? He certainly didn't have that name. Iesus in Greek means it's 5 letters that has numerical significance. It comes out to 888 if you line up the Greek letters with the Greek numbers, give them a value, cross-reference them. The name Jesus, Iesus, the last one is Soter, means Savior. Each one of those letters stands for an aspect of Jesus. Anyway, what I'm saying is this whole thing is made up. It's not based on nature. It's based upon artificial mindset of the patriarchal mindset. So Jesus is sacrificed on the cross, on a Roman cross. The cross is a Roman sword stuck in the ground with the hilt and the hilt, the crosspiece going, so that's a Roman sword. It's an instrument of violence. So the message of a crucifixion, as the Romans did a lot of it, is terror. Follow our program or this will happen to you. That's the underlying message. So you see a crucified man, and if you're not prepared for it, a child could be devastated by it. What's that about? It's about power, and it's about fear and violence and scaring you underneath, hooking you underneath. The same thing happens in all male religions, but it's dressed up in different ways. It's hidden. Nobody's going to buy it if you come out and tell you the truth about it. If you tell the truth about politics or religion too openly to the wrong people, you will get crucified. That's the message. There are more benign religions that I know about, like Hinduism, some of the Hindus, like Krishna, for example. I love the Krishna stories with Radha, because Radha is in the picture. There's Radha and Krishna. They go together, so the feminine element has been retained by the Hindus. But the male gods now have taken preference. Krishna is the main god, or Brahma, or Shiva. But Radha and the feminine goddesses, as they call them, also have a place. Underlying it all, though, is sexuality. Like in the Christian religion, the water, the baptismal font, goes back to the waters of the love culture, the sexual rites. And in the Krishna stories, also, same thing, but it shows up in the stories, which, by the way, are beautifully crafted. They are so deeply feeling and so romantic and so wonderful that we overlook some of the problems easily. So the dipping of the oars in the water and the rowing and the rocking and the roll of the boat, these are all sexual innuendos. Krishna playing, having 16,000 wives and having water sports and and swinging on the swings back and forth, back and forth. This appears in their literature and in their paintings. Thank you for being with us. We're on a journey, and this is getting to be kind of, hang in there. This is tough love time. We're introducing some really tough things, and I'm just skimming the surface. So thank you for being who we are, hanging in there. Love, love, and love.